Okay, so I'm back from helping my partner park the car in the stacker, which is the world's worst place to park. So now we can continue where we left off. So I think the middleware approach we were in the middle of. So I've got, we've figured out kind of how you apply it. So it's, you say middleware and then the middleware. Surprisingly, or non-controversially, that seems to work pretty good, as we've demonstrated with logging. And so, great. So then I think what we'll do next is we will then do a trivial middleware, and then we will do some kind of stateful middleware, and then we'll park that, and we'll come back once we've once we have figured out the metrics bits. That I think is a pretty solid plan. So I've updated my notes, and let's do it. So I'll kill that server again, and we'll have a look at how we can do trivial middleware. So I guess, yeah, I'll create a new file. In this case, I will call it trivialware. Why not? Usually you'd create these in a better hierarchy, but since it's just a little proof of concept, I'll just put everything at the top level of source, at least for now. Now I don't think we need any Scotty stuff. We probably don't need much of anything really, except some network.y related capabilities. So I'll just take everything out, and then we'll kind of put back bits that we need. So let's say module trivialware. Where? Actually, let's just call it trivial for the pun potential. And now I'll say module trivialware, which I think you'll agree makes it all worthwhile. So network.y. Is there a type alias? There is, middleware, and that's defined as this. Fantastic. So I will say trivial is middleware, and trivial is undefined. So over here then I should be able to put in a new piece of middleware. There. Such as that. And of course we can run it, but it will break. Unsurprisingly, it will break because our implementation is not defined. So that's good news. Then, so what do we actually want to do? So that's an alias for application to application. And what is an application? It is this. Okay. So it takes a request and some kind of continuation to response received. Alright, cool. So a request and a continuation. You build a response, you give it to that continuation, and then you're all good, I think. So we will call our request, let's just call it rec, and our continuation we will call it let's just call it cont for now. Alright. And how do you build a response, you may ask? I don't know. Because what we might actually want to do... Oh, that's not quite right, is it? Because it takes an application and gives back an application. And an application is one of these. So it's a little bit hairy, but let's say application, right? And then we need to give back an application. So if I do this, oops, then that should literally be some working middleware. So let's try that. Oop, what did I do? I am losing my train of thought here. Not in scope trivial. I hit some very strange keyboard combination, but it's all good now. Alright, so yeah, that should work. Maybe. Let's try it. Looks good. Okay. Now that maybe is still, I think, not quite enough for me. It's trivial, that's for sure, but I think we maybe want to do something a little bit more to prove the concept. So yes, if then we define our kind of application on the right hand side, I should be able to say, yeah, once again, request and continuation. And then that should be what's kind of going on. So let's see, that should work? Yes. So then let's say, wow, it's really doing my head in. It's a little bit curly. So probably what we want to say, since we've received the continuation argument, we just want to give back this response received. So that should be equivalent to that. It should be monadic, which is good. Then I think what I want to say is, what do we want to try here? I want to be able to give the like build a bit more of this by hand. So, for example, how do I get my hands on a response? So maybe I want to muck around with the response. Let me have a sip of coffee. It seems really like the only place that I can get a response is within this this little continuation. So rather than kind of just reusing the existing continuation, if I then supply my own continuation, like response, and then then I should be able to say continue response, and that should be equivalent. Okay, great. So this is probably like as unpacked as I would need it to be, so that I can like muck around with any of the individual parts, mainly the request and the response, and I can do both of them in I/O in case I need to kind of do anything. Now, I think that works quite well as a trivial kind of middleware example. What I might do is actually kind of leave that as a bit of notes / documentation, so that I can then refer back to that and actually just create new middlewares as required. I might actually, even though I said I wouldn't, just put it in a folder structure, since I'll have a few of them. So I'll go network, Y, middleware, and then let's put that there. Yes, move it, and then we'll rename the module. Re-import it differently. Well, we won't really want this anyway, but that should work. Let's double check. I predict great things. And through come all of the stuff. So that's a good good sign. So I wonder why our syntax was getting a red thing, but I think it was just slow. So I think that's a good point. So now we've done our kind of library for middleware. We've demonstrated it with logging, and we've done trivial. So I think we'll pause here, and then we'll come back and have a look at how we might do some little bit of stateful middleware, although I think that'll be very easy. Then we will put that to the side, our second big chunk, and then we'll start looking at the metrics, which is really probably the part you've been waiting for. So yeah, I'll do a little kind of like table of contents when I send the email through with these videos, so that you can skip to that if that's what you care about. But I think I'm quite happy with how things are going so far. Seems like everything's kind of starting to come together okay. Yes, the only other thing actually I will do before we take a look at the metrics is we'll look at WebSockets and maybe even join them into the middleware. Yep. I think our notes are looking okay. So yeah, I'll pause there and we'll come back. All right.